Hey YouTube, welcome back to UniXTCG, and today we are going to talk about the pre-release sealed format. And this was an idea of somebody in the comments, so once again, I just want to let you guys know that if you want specific content, I will definitely be down to make it. If I see it in the comments and I think it's feasible and I think it's relevant to what people want to see, I'll do it. So somebody asked if we could do a guide for the sealed pre-release, and I said, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. So here we are. This is going to pertain specifically to the sealed pre-release, because if your locals decides to do constructed, then you're going to be in some weird format where some people somehow have all the decks they need for set 2. Some people are still rocking set 1. Some people are rocking set 1 decks, some set 2 modified cards. And hey, look, it's a lawless land at that point. But I do want to say before we jump into it that if you want to join the Universe X family, all you got to do, go down, like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you don't miss a beat, and comment so I know your thoughts on this sort of strategy. And we also have a Discord where the community is constantly growing, not only for this game, but also for games like Battle Spirit Saga, Dragon Ball Super. We play gachas over there. There's a lot of stuff we talk about in the Discord. So with that being said, let's hop over and talk about how we are going to best prepare or like build our decks going in to the pre-release events. So look, basically we have the rules for this. You're gonna get 6 packs, okay? And in these 6 packs, you're gonna construct a 40 card deck. What they want you to bring, and by they I mean the TOs, Bandai, they want you to bring 10 Dawn cards, so you have those ready. And because you aren't guaranteed a leader in those 6 packs, they want you to bring any leader of your choosing. So today what we're going to do is we're going to break down the best leaders. We're going to talk about the best picks going up in rarities. That's going to how I separate it. And hopefully this will help you better your chances of winning that that pre-release smoker card, as well as whatever other prizes there will be at your pre-release. So when it comes to that, first we're going to talk about leaders, right? Now when it comes to leaders, there's a couple that are going to be good, okay? First and foremost, the thing you want to look forward to are generic leaders. You want leaders that are going to get their effects off no matter what you pull in these packs. Now, granted, this all gets thrown out the window if you happen to open up Whitebeard and then most of your packs are somehow Whitebeard rares and uncommons and an SR or something like that. Look, you got it. Or if you open up, Kinemon, and then you have like a bunch of little Wano cards that you get, you got it. But most of the time, your cards are going to be more random than not. You're going to have a little hodgepodge of cards that you just use to hopefully get yourself from A to B in this tournament. So if you're bringing in your leaders, I think that there's 3, maybe 4 leaders that really trump the rest. The first one is going to be no surprise, and that is Eustace Kid. Eustace Kid is just going to be able to swing twice, multiple times per game. Now, granted, he's a generic leader at best. But this is why he was good at the Super pre-release, because no matter what you drew, Eustace Kid could put the game on his back. And once your opponent's at 1 life and no blockers, it's pretty much game in such a sealed format. You just swing twice. So Eustace Kid may just be the best leader in general. Like, even his trashing a card isn't restricted to green. So literally any time in the game, you just pay 3 Dawn, trash a card from your hand, and you'll probably have a lot of dead cards in this kind of matchup, and you swing twice. So Eustace Captain Kid will likely be just the best leader that you could bring in for this sort of event. Next, we have Roronoa Zoro. This is going to be yet another generic leader. The only thing though about this guy is that so his effect of putting a Dawn on him to give all characters plus 10 or plus 1,000. The thing about this, some people may be like, well, he's generic too. Why don't you put him on the same level with Eustace Kid? And the reason why I don't is because Eustace Kid doesn't need any cards in your hand nor in your field to do what he needs to do and to close out game on his own. Zoro's skill is useless if your board is at 0. So you still, in essence, need to build a board to have Zoro's effect be very useful. And that means that while his effect is very generic, and he could be a leader you could use if you don't have a Kid leader, he's not exactly as strong as Kid is in a sealed format like this. The next one we're going to talk about is Luffy. Luffy is better than Zoro, but he still requires you to have cards to be played. So actually, to be honest, I would actually think that Luffy in a sealed format is probably just better than Zoro, because he's always just going to use the Rested Dawn to put it somewhere. You don't have to have a singular huge board. You could have one threat, but that threat is going to be one Dawn thicker per turn as long as you played something. Or your leader will be able to swing for one Dawn higher, just or 1k higher, just by having Luffy's effect. So Luffy is another solid pick if you don't have Kid. Yeah. Now, as for leaders, unless you pull, like I said, unless you pull a themed leader, and a lot of their theme in your 6 packs, a leader that I think works very, very interestingly if you just get the right cards is also Kazuki Odin. I would actually go as far as to say, bring an Odin just in case you get mad Wano cards. Because if you happen to have a lot of Wano cards, enough to use this, you could potentially flood your opponent out. And in a pre-release event, sometimes playing more cards is just as good as having a couple of good solid cards. And if you have a bunch of Wano cards, even if they don't really work, even if they're not the best Wano cards, you could be trashing them to have more Dawn open per turn, and that could allow you to swing bigger or just play more cards. So I would actually pack a Kazuki Odin because you never know how lucky you're going to get on how many cards you're going to be able to pack. So that's our leaders. Next, we're going to move over to the commons that I think are going to be good. So when it comes down to it, in your common pool, there's going to be a couple of cards I'm going to touch on, and then just a bunch of the same kind of card, and that is vanillas. Each color has 3 different vanillas. There's just going to be generally like they range in cost, but normally the 2-drop vanillas are going to have 4K, and that's great because you only have to Dawn 1 it in order to go hard with it. That's also something that Zoro can do. If you pull a lot of vanillas, you can run a Zoro beatdown deck where you're essentially playing these vanillas and boosting them up. So that's always something cool. But Luffy can also get some of these guys there too. But you've got like 2 costs that they have 4K power. You have 4 costs that are, or 3 costs that are gonna have 5K power. 4 costs that are gonna have 6K power. 5 costs that are gonna have 7K power, and the occasional 6 costs that are gonna have upwards of like 8K. So when you look at these guys, because one of the main rules that I forgot to mention is that in this you don't have a color restriction. If a card mentions you have to have a red leader, of course you're gonna have to use a red leader to activate that effect. However, if it's just paying for a card, there are no color restrictions in a sealed tournament. So you could have a green leader and play a red vanilla. That's just how it is, which makes these vanillas so important because they are going to be your main beat sticks, and they're just gonna be reliable statted damage. You tap 5 for a 7K beater, it is likely never leaving the field. Your opponent has to do some extra work to get over that. And they all have counter, so that's pretty good. But going into the rest of the common slots, the common slots are going to be where you find your blockers. So luckily, commons are some of the most cards you get. There's in the red color, there's a 2-drop one, Bleenheim. He is actually just going to be a 2-cost 3K blocker. You have Cat Viper in green, 3-cost 4,000 blocker. Art looks amazing, by the way. In blue, you have Inazuma, who is going to be a 4-cost 5K blocker. And if you only have 1 or less cards in your hand, he gains 2,000 power, making him a 7K blocker. This is important because in a format like this, sometimes you will hand out very, very fast, or the end of the games will be slugfest, seeing who top decks better. And this is going to be a straight, strong blocker that late in the game. In purple, you have a 2-cost 2K power blocker in Domino. And in black, you have a 2-cost 2K power in Corazon. So basically, you literally are going to find all of your blockers in the common slots, and that's actually good. That's what we want to see. So commons are going to be the building blocks for your deck. You are literally going to be finding all your blockers and your vanillas in that slot. Now let's move on. Now here we're going to actually talk about the uncommons. Uncommons actually have some pretty cool picks in it. We're just going to go through them pretty fast. I don't want this video to be too long. So as the uncommon picks, right here I've got Whitey Bay. Whitey Bay is a 1-cost 2K. Stats are kind of low, but Dawn X1, this character can also attack your opponent's active characters. This is going to be a very good way to get small blockers out of the way, as well as being able to attack small things that your opponent may not be wanting you to attack, like Makinos and stuff like that. So just be wary of that. Moving on, we've got in green Diablo Jambe Venison Shoot, and this is actually pretty cool. Main KO to one of your opponent's rested characters at the cost of 4 or less, and that's for 2. So if they swung with it, swung with vanilla, swung with a little high profile card, you can just blow it up. Now the other cool part is that as a trigger, you can play one character with a cost of 4 or less without an effect from your hand. So in a sealed format, you're going to be building vanillas. This can allow you to cheat a vanilla out if they swing and this is in your life, and that's actually going to be a massive momentum changer in this sort of game. Now, next, we've got Boa Hancock in blue. 4 cost, 5k. When attacking, draw 1 card and trash 1 card from your hand, then trash 3 cards from your hand. You don't have to trash 3 cards. Up to of 3 can be 0. But the important part is that when you're attacking, you get to draw 1 card and trash 1 card. You trash the useless card in your hand, you draw another card. Point being, you're speeding through your deck faster than what other decks get speed through their decks. This is just thinning and sealed is very, very strong. Next, you've got Morley. He's when attacking, if you have 1 or less card in your hand, your opponent cannot activate a blocker character within a cost of 5 during battle. This is actually really interesting because, again, people are going to be stockpiling these blockers. And if you play Morley, this could be the card that just actually gets it in. You play it the second to last turn, your opponent has 0 life, and they should know that no matter what they do, they have to be able to out-counter 15k if they have 0 life, because this guy will not be able to be blocked as long as you make sure that your hand is out. So this is a pretty cool card. I think this is a good pinch hitter in the final parts of the game. Next in blue has a lot. You've got Arabesque Brick Fist. That's 2 cost, main activate, well, it's like main. You return up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less in the owner's hand. Trigger, activate this card's main effect. This is just a stun, but in a sealed format, it's not like there's a lot of synergy most of the time unless somebody gets horrendously lucky. So a stun could be enough just to completely put your opponent back into the Stone Age. You know, just stun them entire turn. They spend 4 Dawn to play a beater, and then you just pay 2 Dawn on your following turn to put it back in hand. You time walk them. So it is what it is. In purple, we have got Mina Koala. And Mina Koala is a blocker, 4 for a 5k blocker. The point about this one is that he can swing or he can block, and that's just pretty good. On KO has an effect, but it requires you to have an Impel Down type, so you know you don't really count on that. You know, if you get a Magellan, you get a Magellan, but otherwise he's just gonna be a blocker that can be a swinger, a good swinger if need be. Then you also have Minotaur, and Minotaur is a 4k or 4 cost for 5k double attacker, and this one is actually going to be a menace because he's just going to start chunking life away. If they don't have a blocker and you swing with this and it connects, just like that's a huge swing. And usually doesn't really get off as much in constructed, but this ain't constructed. This is sealed, baby. The next card I want to talk about is Burandi World. This is actually really funny. So he's at 8 cost for 8k. Seems steep, but activate Dawn -8. This character gains plus 792,000 power during this turn. It's a joke. If you guys get it, you get it. The whole point though is if this guy swings and you don't have blockers, he's an assured damage with that Dawn -8. So yeah, if your opponent ever plays this, your main priority is setting up blockers or not being at 0 life, because this guy is about to work your stuff. This is an instant game card if you don't have the defense to not get swung on by this guy. It's just pretty insane. So next card is in purple as well. You got a Hydra. Dawn -1, give up to one of your opponent's characters -3k power during this turn. Trigger, if your opponent has 6 or more Dawn, your opponent returns 1 of their Dawn back to their Dawn deck. The trigger is not going to be that good in Unsealed because like it's not like we're like curving out perfectly. However, when it comes to the top one, if you do want to include this in your deck, you can soften up a card that's already been turned sideways and then swing on it, which can be like kind of pseudo removal. And then the last 2 cards we have in the uncommon slot would be Isuka. It's a 3 cost 4k and Dawn X1, making it a 5k. Once per turn, when this character battles and KOs one of your opponent's characters, set this character as active. So you can put like 2-3 Dawn on here, make it swing heavy. That's going to be very intensive in a format like this. If it kills something, it's almost all, like if you swing for like 7 or higher, it's probably going to knock something out, and then you can untap it, which is wonderful. And the cool thing about this is that it's either going to just be removal, double removal and damage, or it's going to be a hand destruction card. Like that's how it is. And what I mean by that is you're either going to swing on something, destroy it, and then swing on something else, or you're going to swing on something, destroy it, and put it to active so they can't swing on it, or you're going to swing on something, destroy it, and then swing it to life, or you're going to swing and they're going to defend, you're going to swing and they'll defend, in which case they dropped a lot of cards for that. So excellent little tester card. Very, very good. And you've got Belmere. She's a 1 cost. Activate main, rest this character, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost for during this turn. Then your leader or up to one of your characters gains plus 1K. It's just extra power. If you have her sitting on the field, you can do things. This is a great enabler for some of the black cards, but it's also just power boost, so that's something to be said. Let's move on to the rare slot now. So when it comes to rares though, this is going to be where, of course, if you get these, you get these. Don't expect it because these are going to be the hardest ones to pull. Well, hardest outside of the SRs, but you know what I mean. So first on the list, we got Vista. On play, K up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less. Easy reason for why this is good. You can combo it with any minus effects that you can find. I mean, like you could literally use something like the Hydra to minus something by 3K, and then you can play Vista and blow it up because it was, you know, less 3K or less now. So very good card. Spot removal, gets rid of blockers. For the most part, that's what it will do. Just good. And it's easy to don up on and swing with afterwards. Very good card. Next, you got Marco. Marco is actually pretty cool as well. He's a blocker, 4 cost, 5K, so he's one of those blockers that can get to swinging. And on top of that, once your life is at 2 or less, you can discard a Whitebeard Pirates card, and you can play this character from your trash instead. So as long as you have some Whitebeard cards to fuel it, he can have a little bit of extra oomph for what you're doing. The next card you have is Carrot. She's just a 5 for 5K. Counter 2K is very important. Her stats all around are good. But on top of that, end of your turn, set up to one of your Dawn to active. A little harder to pull off synergy with that in a constructed format. But if you do get some event cards, you can leave open 2, and then some of the event cards are a little juicy in this one, like a little thick on the cost. But you can untap that 3rd Dawn and then actually have it live. So she gets her mileage in. I think so. Next, you have your Monkey D. Luffy from the film set, or the film like archetype, but he's a 7K for 7 blocker. That's starter kid stats. And then if you manage to pack more film Straw Hats, you can literally just on play drop them out. So this is a really, really, really nice one. Next, you have Yamato. Very good card. 4 cost for 6K. That's already phenomenal. When on play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. And if you see enough of these, or just one of them, maybe you can slide in some like Kazuki, Toki blockers, because this is treated as Odin. So that's actually really, really good. Yamato is pretty much just going to be a very, very strong card for what it is. Play it, tap something down, dawn up your leader, swing on it. It is what it is. Next, some cards in these are actually, you have Mr. 3. He's just a 4 cost for 5K blocker, and then at the end of your turn, you may trash a card from your hand, set this to active. So at the cost of losing a little hand advantage, you can swing with this card and then untap it for blocking, allowing it to be both aggressive and defensive in the same rotation of turns. Wonderful. Next, you have Hell's Judgment. Counter Dawn -1. This is just going to minus 3K to a leader or a character, up to 2, and that's going to be very, very nice. You can stop the stem of damage very, very well with this card, and it only costs 2, and it's a Dawn -1, which is negligent later in the game. Then you've got Kobe. Kobe is going to be on play. You may trash 1 card in your hand, K up to one of your opponent's characters with 3 or less, cost 3 or less. This is going to get it in for a lot of blockers, a lot of medium attackers. So Kobe is very good. Spot removal is extremely important in this format. Next, you got Hina. She is a 5 cost blocker, 6K on the stats, and then on block, choose up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost 6 or less. The chosen character cannot attack during this turn. Good. That's actually really, really good in the sealed format. We just talked about it in a video 2 days ago for constructed. Very, very good and sealed though. And now we're going to move over to our best SR picks if you are lucky enough to be graced with one. All right, so here we are with Edward Newgate to start it off. On play, up to one of your leaders gains 2,000 until the start of your next turn. You cannot add cards from your life area to your hand by effects. And then Dawn X2, when attacking, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3K or less power. This is just a monster. If your opponent packs this, just understand that if they see it, that's just you. Like, it's hard to win the game against a card like this in sealed, because it's just ridiculous. This guy doesn't have a leader color lock. So if he gets played, it's just going to be that much harder to swing on your opponent because they're going to be up 2K. And then on top of that, this is not Whitebeard. So you might actually have this activate on a person with 3 life. That's just wild. The other part is that when attacking, you KO up to one of it. Has the Robin effect, actually. And it's swinging for 12K when it does that. So you won't be able to counter out of this card. You'll just need to block it or take the damage. This literally, if you pack this, you're just OD. You were just so lucky. Next, you have Kazuki Odin. He's another one of those cards where if you pack him in this, just like pray you see him every game, and if you're the opponent, pray that's at the bottom of their deck. Because this guy is going to be able to get himself on the field for 8. Next turn, he's swinging on you for a minimum of 8k, paying 3, and swinging on you again. In sealed, this is just a really, really rough load to bear. Even in constructed it is. So this guy's gonna be swinging on you mad heavy twice per turn. And oh yeah, by the way, if you do kill it, you better hope they don't have a 3-cost or less Wano card in their deck because they're playing it. So yeah, this is just a massive, massive bomb. Moving over next, you've got Luffy. Most of these colors have like an SR that I would be like, I don't know about, and then an SR that I'd be like, yes, dog. And this is pretty much the blue one. Well, blue one I think is the only one with 2, if I'm not mistaken, then I feel like. On player when attacking, you may trash 2 cards from your hand. Return 1 character with a cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand, and then this character gains double attack for the turn. This one's gonna burn your hand, but it's also going to set your opponent back and then gain double attack. So this guy is probably going to close out games very fast. And even if you give them the amount of cards to combo out of it, they're going to have to drop those cards immediately to not take the damage. And this can bounce back blockers too. So this is just actually going to be a very, very, very aggressive forward card if you pack it. Next, you got Ivankov. This is actually really, really nice because not only is it good in the deck that Ivankov is in, it's actually very good in sealed as well. You just wait until you're low on hand, and then you tap 7 and you play this card when this is the last card in your hand, you know, you've out-countered, you've defended yourself a little fervently, and you play this, and you just drop it. And if you have any blue, you know, like vanillas, you will just drop that off this effect and potentially swing the momentum of the entire game by adding 2 massive beaters to your field. It's just good. Next, from black, you have Sakazuki. On play, you may trash 1 card in your hand, key up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 5 or less. This is going to destroy most of the sealed format outside of SRs and extremely tall vanillas. So this is really good. Like, this is good. And it's a 7k beater. Sakazuki goes in. And then the last card from the SR pool that I say is just like really good is Borsalino. Basically, opponent's turn, character gains plus 1k power and cannot be KO'd by effects, and he's a blocker. So a 6k blocker is going to be a very good card to have in your deck. And yeah, I think it goes without saying though, if you have secret rares, like if you're just that person to pack a secret rare, just know. Like, yes, you're lucky, yes, use it. You've got Uta, and Uta is just Dom -2, your leader, and all your characters gain plus 1k power. So basically, you just build up a board, and you play Uta, and you turn your entire board sideways, and hope it gets there. Definitely not the best out of the 2. Now, the other one, though, Kuzan, all your opponent's characters gain -5 to their cost, and then you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0. So basically, this guy is going to get played for 10, be a 10k beat stick, and blow up pretty much most cards on the board. Once again, that 5 or less cost is ridiculous. Now, the other part about it is if you pack a Kuzan somehow, you need to reevaluate the strength of every black card in your deck because they're going to go crazy. They're all going to be enabled essentially when this guy's on the field. So with that being said, that is my video for the pre-release. Those are the cards I think that you should look at a little harder and target for synergy, and I think that's how you should build. And remember, your commons are going to be your blockers and your vanillas. Your uncommons are going to have some nice little niche cards in them. Your rares are going to be where most of your power's at, and if you're lucky to pack an SR, you just reach the RNG of Divinity. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this video was good. The chapters are at the bottom if you want to rewatch again. And I hope this helped you guys for your pre-release adventure. So yeah, I tried to say experience and adventures at the same time. I'm tired cranking on content. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.